Hi, I'm Regina Hasan, host of Pregnant with Purpose podcast. We are a podcast for people 60 plus who are living out or looking for their God-given purpose. First of all, I'm 60 plus, okay? I was inspired when I saw the producer, Jasmine Jones, when I witnessed her doing podcasts and doing a podcast for her then business. And I saw that she did it with such ease, and I was kind of like taken with that. Also, I have a best friend named Margot Harris, and she has started this movement called Bobo After 60 for people 60 plus. And she and I had conversations about life being able to continue on, even though you're after 60, but people have sometimes saw us to be irrelevant. And we wanted to be able to have platforms where we could let people know that just because we're 60 doesn't mean we're over. And that's why it's named Pregnant with Purpose, because I believe that all God's children are born with a purpose. Because like I said, I'm 60 plus. And to be honest with you, I never thought I would be this age. I didn't plan my life for this season. I woke up one day and here I am, okay? And my life wasn't over. I'm still working, I'm still doing things, but I didn't plan for this part of my life. Being an American, the treatment of the people in my season is not very good. We are subject to scams. We are subject to abuse, elderly abuse. There are a lot of challenges that we face. But on the upside, one of the things that in this particular season of our lives is that we've learned and we've had a lot of experiences. And because we've had those experiences, we are better able to deal with the stuff that life brings about. Not on everything, but on a lot of things. It's a little bit different now in my 60s than it was in my 20s, as you can imagine. Or even in my 30s, It's I see things a lot different. And I think that you learn what's important the older that you get, so. Oh, I can't even start, man, really. I don't want to name a particular guest, but I would have to say the people who have been able to write and complete books that I found them to be, I don't want to say more interested than the other guests, but I just found that to be a fascinating feature. Sit down and write, complete, publish their books, to have that with them as part of their legacy. I mean, that's something that they'll always have, is the book that they've written. So I would have to say authors. They stand out for me. Honestly, like at 60, there's always this feeling of dread that you waited too late. The reality is, if it's your God-given purpose, it's not too late. It's right on time. Yeah. I definitely say that people who find their purpose early in life, I really admire those people. I think that the reason why I may not have found my purpose early in life because I wasn't looking for it. That was a purpose, but I wasn't really examining or looking for it or, I think that at some points I was living it, but it still wasn't, that's what you were put here for. That wasn't that kind of feeling. I think that once you get to be a certain age, for some people, they may feel like they're too late. It's never too late. Your purpose is probably something that you're already doing. You just haven't identified it as your purpose. Sometimes our definition of our purpose is just way off. We think, my purpose is to come up with a cure for cancer. Your purpose can be something as simple as you're a crossing guard for a school. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And those kids look forward to you because you always speak and always make them feel loved or appreciated or wanted. So that may be what your purpose is, and being able to embrace that. Sometimes our purposes, we are already doing them. Yeah. We're already fulfilling them. I'm telling you, it is my faith that has brought me through. That even when I am faithless, my God is faithful. My faith means a lot to me. whoever I'm interviewing, whatever they're doing, if it's inspiring to me, it's most likely going to be inspiring to the people I'm talking to.
Right.
And I think that can come through when I'm doing the interview. It shows when I'm doing the interview. I think that's real important. I just feel real strong about the fact that if I'm inspired, that will transcend to the people that I am reaching out to on the podcast. You know, I haven't done the podcast in a while, as you know, but I have just been honored and humbled by the fact that people have said, are you still doing your podcast? Whatever happened to Pregnant with Purpose? Are you going to do some more Pregnant with Purpose? And saying things like, you know, I really did like that podcast. Yeah. That podcast really did help me. I'm just dumbfounded, like, really? You know, because you're doing a podcast, you know, and all the stuff that we're talking about now, you know, it wasn't that deep. But when I heard that, and then I reminded myself, there were people that actually listen and even look forward to the podcast. So it wasn't 1,000 people. I didn't have 1,000 listeners and things like that. But the people that did, it was very humbling to find out that they listened and they were inspired and they look forward to hearing that podcast. So. Knowing that I have an opportunity to use the platform to offer hope. You know, in America, our generation, this generation of 60 plus, we have a lot of problems with loneliness. Knowing that this is a platform that people can look at and watch and know I'm not alone. And there's still so many things that I can continue to do with my life and that God does have a purpose for me. I've been asked to do this podcast where I was basically forced in front of the camera and having to tell my story, man. And I just booed through the whole entire podcast. It was real raw, but it was me. So when I have another guest on and they are going through something, you know, what keeps me focused is the fact that I get to share this with somebody and then there's a release for the person who's sharing that. Hopefully that, you know, this will be a point where they can go, really exhale. That it's over. There's nothing that you can bring to the table. There's no more joy in life. That's a myth. And we may not be sharp all the time, but some of us, we still got it, you know? For this season coming up, the first guest, I literally was like, God, which way do you want me to go? You know, I don't really know. Maybe they'll have some ideas. And then this morning, it was just so clear. It was if the Holy Spirit said, okay, go back to basics. And then it was like, who? And then I got this name. And I immediately text them at 6 something in the morning and say, hey, da-da-da-da-da. Gave them the text, and what I got back was they would be honored. I realized that, you know, if I turn stuff loose sometimes and stop holding on and, you know, what am I gonna do tomorrow? And this morning woke up, it was just so simple. The Holy Spirit said, go back to the basics. Remember, and I said it out loud. 60 plus for people who are living out or looking for their God-given purpose. And it was like, bingo. It's brought out my purpose even more by doing Pregnant with Purpose, which just seems kind of ironic, but I cannot say that I was for certain what my purpose was when I started this podcast. So the podcast helped me cultivate it, all right? Helped me cultivate my purpose. And I thought, hey, this is something that is helping people. This is something that's offering hope to people. Hey, you're living out your purpose. I can say that that's what I've gotten out of it. I'm very transparent. I've talked about my struggles with glaucoma. I've talked about me being in recovery and long-term recovery. I've talked about my losses, the death of my mom, my husband, my sister, my niece, my good friend, my dad, and then my furry baby. So I've laid it all out. I've been very transparent. Going back to the basics. And I don't know if you could consider it new, but let's continue on with talking to some people who are really out there living out their purpose. My name is Regina Hasan. I'm the host of Pregnant with Purpose podcast, and you can catch us on all podcast platforms.